Went to see his show, and this is what he wrote. There were no lasers, flashing lights, or promenading pansies. Just a singer, his guitar, a hot band, and the shrill voice that has survived 2 decades of booze and rock and roll hard living. Shannon was stunning, was the way he concluded. So would you please welcome a true rock and roll legend, Mr. Del Shannon. Welcome, Del.
Well, it's nice to be here. Hi, Australians. How are you?
They're from everywhere today. You've got them from almost every state here. Plus, of course, we're going all around the country. This is 12th or 13th tour to Australia?
I think it's the 13th. Nobody's... Last time I was here, I think they said it the 12th.
You're not superstitious?
Like the guy said, they're a little hard drinking there 10, 12 years ago. I don't know. It could have been 4 tours or none. I don't remember.
I remember, in fact, your first tour in '61 with Chubby Checker. I remember going to the stadium for that wild rock and roll night. What do you remember of that, the first trip?
Oh, I remember that. It was Bobby Rydell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chubby. And, God, we were... I remember the kids used to come up on the stage, and these bodyguard people would throw them off, right? And it was a tall stage. What was it called? The City
Stadium.
Sydney Stadium, yeah, which is now a railroad station. Is that right?
Basically, tennis courts and a road.
Tennis court, yeah, well. But it was great working there. I remember that, yeah.
Well, you look back on that now. Obviously, things have changed despite your successes. I mean, was that a real heavy thing for a young kid out of America?
To come here?
To get that sort of adulation, to get that sort of the rock and roll crowds?
I mean, I was picking strawberries in a field, you know, as a kid, thinking, someday I'm going to be in the movies, you know, and they all laughed at me. And, of course, I did make a movie. It was a horrible movie. So.
What was the movie? I don't remember that.
Oh, it was called It's Tradad.
It's Tradad.
Yeah, it was really... it was a pretty big hit in England, I think. But it was very scary. At first, you know, that's what you really want. And then when you get there, you think, wow, is this it? I had the first show I did was in Broadway at New York City from a rock throwing, knife throwing. This is really true. Throwing knives at each other and throwing bottles and fighting. And it was really rock and roll, sort of rock and roll. It was just, rock and roll was just coming in. And from taking me from this club where they used to fight and take me to New York, put me on Broadway, I mean, it was amazing. And then I thought, well, I'm going to Broadway. I had this great dressing room. And man, the dressing room was Dion, myself, and Bobby V in this little room. I mean, it was like, and the window wouldn't close, and the wind came in. It was cold. It was about March, I think it was. So I kept sometimes wishing, I wish I was back in the strawberry patch. Yeah. Because it was so scary, you know.
But not for long. Now, whatever happened to Chubby Checker? He married a Miss America, and then...
Chubby's doing great. I mean, Chubby is the road man of all time. I mean, he lives on the road. He has...
So he's still singing and entertaining?
Oh, yeah, Chubby just had a hit with the Fat Boys. It was called The Twist. They redid The Twist, and he had I think it was top 10 record. And Chubby's works, I think, more than any artist that I know. He even works more than Willie Nelson. So, and he's on a bus, and he loves his bus.
Everything that I read about you, when you look back at your almost, well, certainly 2 decades plus in the business, refers to you as being ahead of your time in the fact that you were a singer who sang your own songs, who wrote your own songs, the fact that some of the arrangements, the production and so on, that Musitron as well was signed. Jeff, can you just play that again? That's what we're talking about, the sound which was so distinctively Del? That was you, wasn't it? Where did that come from?
Well, see, Max Crook, his father, we were kids, right? And the drummer said, I know a great organist. My guitar player quit, and I said, oh, I don't know, I need a guitar player. And he said, oh, this guy's amazing. He has this little box. And it sounded just like Jeff was playing there, but it was a little box like this. And he had a camouflage so no one would know what it was. And he put it through this amp, and when I auditioned him, you know, I started singing, and he put the strings behind me and everything. I said, wow, this guy's hired immediately. And because he could make bassoons and basses and all kinds of great sounds. So the one night I wrote Runaway, I called Max the next day and I said, Max, I need an instrumental. When I point to you, play something. And he played that solo. It just came out right on. In 2 days we wrote that.
It seems to pitch with your voice, though. I mean, like Roy Orbison, you have the ability to get up on a real high.
I can get up fairly high still, you know.
Yeah. Well, what about can you, again, I was thinking in terms of your regarded as the inspiration for the Beach Boys. You helped actually ease the Beatles into America on their particular tour. The Mersey beat sound was pretty much allegedly following your Little Runaway. Little Town Flirt, wasn't it?
Little Town Flirt, I think, was kind of...
Yeah.
See, I've always...
Can you play a bit of that for us?
Oh,
Little
sure.
Town Flirt?
I get my inspiration on the guitar.
Do you remember Little Town Flirt? Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Little Town Flirt. You see, Little Town Flirt was like taken from guitars in Nashville. You go like you notice in the record it goes. That's one guitar, and then my guitar goes. That's all it is. It's just got that kind of rolling rhythm, you know, that's been around for years. But
and yet it became the Mersey bit. I mean, people started.
Maybe. I don't take any credit. You know, if they give it to me, I'll take it. You know, I'll take anything they give me. But it was, you know, here she comes, little town flirt, falling for her. What you gonna get her? Yeah, I know it's so hard to resist the temptation of her tender red lips. You can get her. Yeah, you can get her. That little town flirt.
Good sound, isn't it? Good sound. Well, you got it there. Don't leave it.
Yeah.
You mentioned how the voice can go up. Again, you were the first, I guess, of the rock and rollers to introduce yodeling with Swiss Maid. Was that?
Yodeling came from Roy Rogers, and there was
Right.
also a jumping cowboy back in America. I forget Kenny somebody. It wasn't Kenny Rogers. Kenny jumping cowboy somebody, and he used to yodel. And then when I was a kid, I would yodel like, and then Hank Williams came on with. She's long gone, and now I'm lonesome blues. So then I went to Nashville, and I met a guy named Roger Miller down there, who was as crazy as a lunatic.
It still is.
It still is, and he had this song called One Time, a Long Time Ago, and I said, that's a great song, and he said, well, if you like that, you'll like this even better. It's not finished yet. So he played me this other great song. And so he said, meet me in the morning, we'll have it finished. So, Roger Miller. So I go to the office in Nashville, Tennessee. No one was cutting much in Nashville. So I said, well, we're waiting, and Roger isn't here. And he says, Roger's in Los Angeles. He left about midnight last night. I said, you're kidding, what about the song? So forget it, you know. So we were stuck with the Swiss Maid, which wasn't a bad deal to be stuck with.
No.
And when I saw Roger later on, I said, Roger, whatever happened to that song you were finishing? He says, what song? I said, he didn't even remember.
Give us a bit of the yodel for Swiss Maid.
I'll do the end. That's the only place. Yo-la-la, yo-la-la, yo-la-la. That's the end, yeah.
Well, I don't want to tax the voice too much, but I read, just quickly, I read that back in 1974 when you came to Australia, you said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I'm 50. Well, I don't want to be rude, but you're getting close to that, and here you are,
close.
Rock and rolling again.
I'll see. I still don't know what I'm going to do when I'm 50.
But you're on the right track, aren't you?
I hope so, yeah.
All right, terrific. Let's. Dell's going to come back and sing for us, but Del Shannon's Crime Story Tour. This weekend begins at Seagulls up the coast, March the 4th in Castle Hill, RSL, March the 8th, Sawtell, RSL in Coffs Harbour, March the 10th, Revesby Workers Club, and March the 11th at Rudy Hill, RSL. Now, one of those I'm going to catch when...
After that, I'm going to go home, man.
It sounds like a lot of work for a man, isn't it? Well, can you